Hello, and welcome to another live stream here at Playground Sessions YouTube channel. It's great to see everyone, and happy Sunday to all of you. I've already been checking in on the chat since a couple of minutes ago, and I see that there's actually a lot of names that I usually don't see on our Wednesday lessons. This makes me just feel happy and excited that we are coming to you on a different day today so that we can accommodate some of our other viewers. So happy Sunday, everyone. Let me just say hey to some peeps. How's it going? I see some, Corinna, great to see you. I still think back to our lesson that we did, and I'm really glad that you could join us today. I'm sure that the normal Wednesday times maybe are tough for you with the time change. So it's great to see you. Sarah Pickles says, hey, everyone. She's become a known name in our group. And Sarah, you can't make it today. I'm sorry to hear, but thanks for saying hey to us. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the chat next lesson, which actually is not going to be this coming Wednesday, but the first Wednesday in March. And I see Charles, I see Anna, I see Sean. Charles says he's not at his keys at the moment, but he'll still be watching. That's great. I'm glad. You could still participate in these pop quizzes, and hopefully you can still learn something even away from the keyboard. Camille, hey, Uncle Rabbit, morning or whatever. Good question, good point. You know, I'm still drinking coffee underneath my keyboard here, but even though it is after morning, Sunday we have a little bit of leeway. We can do what we want. Dave, hello world. Hello Dave. And Lily Mae, good morning from Washington. Tina Miller, hey from Illinois. And Byron Burt, hey Byron. Annette, awesome. Annette always comes with the emoji energy. I love that. She like busts through with a bunch of keyboards and hands. That's the kind of attitude we like here as we sit down at the keyboard. So good stuff. Jorge, at the grocery store, people think I'm weird. Hey, I respect that. You know, you got to get in your lesson when you can, and kudos to you. Thanks for watching from even at an inconvenient spot. All right, everyone, we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna talk about expression, and specifically, what I want to do today with regards to expression is kind of tie it back to what you're working on, what song or boot camp lesson or whatever, the entertainer, what are you guys working on, and then how do we apply this stuff that we're talking about with expression to your actual song or excerpt examples. And so to do that, we're going to lean into the chat a little bit more today. I'm going to ask you guys to really tell me what have you been working on and what have you been trying to practice your expression with, and what hurdles may you have maybe encountered. From there, I'll actually kind of tailor my demos accordingly, okay? So we're going to have some more interaction with that today. And we're also going to pull back something into our stream that we haven't done in a while, and that is one of my live improvisations, where I ask you guys for some help to give me some keywords or some things that I should consider while I'm improvising. And then I'll make up something on the spot, telling a story that you guys helped me create. So we'll do another one of those today. And then I also, of course, we'll have pop quizzes throughout, like usual. But then I'm really excited about next month, you guys, and the topic that we have all agreed to together. We're still, technically, the voting is still open, but it's looking like it's going to be compose a song together, which is super exciting. And so the last thing I wanted to do today is give you guys all a little preview of what that is going to look like. We're going to write a little bit together today, and I'm going to test out the technology that's going to allow us to do that in these live lessons. So today we'll have a bit of a preview of that towards the end. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. First things first, let's jump into our first pop quiz. That's right, pop quiz. Pop quiz number 1. You guys know the drill, but you know what? Since it's a Sunday, and I have some new people here in the chat that I usually don't see on Wednesdays, I'll go ahead and explain. If you win the pop quiz question, if you get it right, you will earn a free song credit for the interactive app. Here's how you win. I'll say, I'm looking for the first correct answer or the third correct answer or whatever it is. And then I'll say, here's your question. And you'll see it in just a sec. And then you'll write, because this is pop quiz number 1, you are going to write 1 dash and then your answer. This will help us know if your answer is for question 1 or question 2 or 3 down the road. So Pop quiz question number 1. You're going to write 1 dash and your answer. Here is the question. Ready? How many slurs do we see in this example on screen? If you tuned in to our last lesson, we talked about phrasing and we talked about slurs. This is the notation marking that helps us identify where a phrase is. It also helps us know to play legato. So I'm seeing some answers come in now. That's good. I'm going to just play just for a minute and let you guys continue to type them. Question number 1, 1 dash, and then your answer for how many slurs you see. And I'll give you a little bit of a hint here. There's something in there that might throw you off. And if you were around for the lesson last week, you know that slurs look an awful lot like ties. And there's your hint. So I'm not looking for how many ties, I'm only looking for how many slurs. And I'm going to go ahead and look for our first correct answer. So now let me go to the chat. All right, I'm seeing a lot of 1 dashes. That's good. I'm seeing 1 5, 1 7, 1 7. I'm seeing 8 7 7, 8 8 8 7 7 7 8 6. A lot of 8s and 7s. Let's see what our answer is. Let's go ahead and see now. Okay, the answer is 7 slurs. And a lot of you put 8. I want to just let you know that the confusion there is that there is 1 tie. If you have a note connected with what looks like it could be a slur or a tie, if the note is connected to another same note, an E to an E, for example, or a B flat to a B flat, that's a tie, not a slur. So we see one of those in this example. And you guys were very close, but the first correct answer, which is 1-7, goes to Sean. And Sean, I hope I don't mispronounce your name. I'm going to say Cephalou. Oh, actually, do I need to go up more?
Right above Sean.
Above Sean. Ah, Gail Hogue. Good call, Aiden. Sorry, Sean. But you know what, Sean? I've done this before where I've accidentally called out a winner, and I don't want to get you excited just to let you down. So, Sean, that's my bad. Sean Cephalou. Please tell me if I've pronounced your name wrong. You get a free song credit for my mistake. And Gail Hogue, you were the official correct first answer. So both of you guys are going to get a free song credit. I'm going to have Aiden post just a quick link to, or instructions rather, to how to redeem your free song credit. And if you have any questions, just let us know in the chat. All right, well, there's going to be a couple more pop quizzes as we go, so keep those fingers ready. But now what I want to do is get to the core of our lesson today. We're talking about expression. I want to do a bit of a summary here for you guys. Many of you may not have made some of the Wednesday lessons throughout the month. And so what I'd like to do is give just a very brief kind of summary of our month and catch us all up to speed, okay? So expression, in general, when we're talking about music and being expressive with music, what we mean is playing it and bringing life to what you're playing and breathing life into it. And the point of that is to express emotion through your performance. And so how do we do that? Well, there's a couple of ways we can do that. One is with dynamics. Dynamics is what we covered in our first lesson on expression. We talked about the notation markings and the term names and definitions for the different levels of volume that we can play with. So if we want to play very quietly, we're going to see a piano marking. Even quieter is pianissimo, 2 P's. As we get louder, medium quiet, that's mezzo piano, that's a little louder. Medium loud, mezzo forte. And then forte, loud. 2 F's, fortissimo. And so on, okay? We went over the range of dynamics. And we talked about how you can use dynamics, but also contrasting dynamics to add emotion and express emotion in a piece of music. So for example, I could play you a C major scale with no dynamics. Then I can play it with dynamics and contrasting dynamics. I bet you're going to feel like it's a more emotional performance. Okay? It tells a bit more of a story. It adds a bit of an arc to it. Okay? After dynamics, we talked about how it's also worth contrasting the timing of your performance. We talked about rubato, and we defined that term as pushing and pulling the tempo or the timing of your piece. So again, I'll go to my scale example, and now I'll also push and pull the tempo a bit to show you what kind of an effect that can have. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. There's not just one right or wrong way. But I hope what you noticed there is that we felt kind of like an ebb and flow. It wasn't so machine-like and computer-like with our even timing. There was a push and pull, which feels much more like a human is playing, right? That's kind of what we're going for here. Last week, in our third installment of the expression month, we talked about phrasing, using some of the dynamics and the rubato techniques to play and to identify and isolate different phrases in the music. And we talked about slurs, and you just were reminded about slurs from your last pop quiz. We talked about slurs being the notation marking that lets you know this is a phrase. All the notes inside of this slur are a phrase. And we might approach the articulation of the notes differently as well within a phrase. Typically, we want to play smoother and more legato within a slur or a phrase. And then when the slur ends and the phrase ends, we want to sort of separate from what's next. We want to connect everything within the phrase, and we want to separate a bit of what's next. So I'll show you what I mean by that here with our C-scale example as well. We're going to imagine a slur across the ascending scale. So that's all one phrase. And then as I go back down, we're going to imagine a second slur, a second phrase for that. Watch how I connect the ascending scale within a slur. And then watch how I separate it from the second phrase. And then watch how I connect that second phrase within that phrase, okay? This is a bit more conceptual and a bit more subtle, but we're talking about phrasing here. Check this out. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a pause or a breath. It could even just be a feeling that you have inside, but it's something that you want to translate through in your playing. You want to connect what's in the slur and kind of separate it from the other phrases. You also, I hope, noticed that even in that example, I was using some rubato and some dynamic contrast as well. So that is a bit of where we're at now. Okay, we've gone through these lessons, we've talked about this stuff, and I hope that you have practiced this stuff. That's actually what I want to get into next, is how do we apply what we've learned? And for that, I want to go to the chat, okay? So I want to know, and you guys start typing now, I want to know what you've practiced expression with. Was it a scale? Was it the entertainer from the 30-day challenge that we just finished up? Is it a song or a boot camp lesson from our interactive app? Or is it something else? Go ahead and start letting me know, because I want to actually use some of what you guys give me here as what I actually demo, okay? I want to try, if possible, to bridge this gap between us. And I want to try to use what you guys are doing as my example, because I think that's really what's important here and what's the most valuable with this interactivity that we can enjoy here in these live lessons, is me actually giving you feedback to you, not just in general, okay? So let's see if I can check in on the chat and see if you guys can let me know what you've been practicing expression with. Lily Mae, I see that you've been practicing the entertainer at 150, BPM for your grandpa yesterday. Don't feel like you can add expression much in that song though, at least not at that speed. Great point, Lily Mae. So the entertainer is the song from the 30-day challenge. Right? And so that song in particular doesn't necessarily lend itself to a really dramatic slowing and speeding up of tempo necessarily, because the style of music, that ragtime, bouncy style, is really meant to be in a groove. Swinging or not, it's supposed to be grooving. It's supposed to be bouncy and rhythmic. So, Lily Mae, to that point, I would say maybe you wouldn't want to perform the entertainer in this like dramatic, expressive way. But I promise you, it could be very valuable to just practice it that way. Remember, when you're practicing expression, you want to actually be using a musical example of something that you already know really well. Because otherwise, it's too hard to practice expression. You're still trying to get the right notes, the right rhythms, the hand coordination, whatever. Right? So I think that we have to separate between sort of imagining a performance situation where it might be appropriate and it might not. We have to separate that from like a private practice session. Let's pretend no one can hear us. What do we want to work out? Jazz musicians, we often call that the shed. We're in the shed all day. That means we're practicing stuff. It's not meant to be heard. We're just working out what we need to work out. So to that point, Lily Mae, I would say that you should practice the entertainer with some expression, if for no other reason than because you already are familiar enough with that song. And maybe not at 150 BPM, like you said. Remember, get rid of the challenges. If you're supposed to be working on expression, get rid of the other unrelated challenges, like a fast tempo, for example. And so how might we do that? Well, Lily Mae, let's put this example, let's get a little more detailed with my demo here, okay? I'm actually going to play through this, and I believe I have this arrangement memorized. And let's just leave it there for now, okay? I just played through that at what was a comfortable tempo for me, at an even timing, not much expression. Just playing through it, chunking along, okay? What I want to do now is take a few steps here and build our way up towards playing that with expression. And Lily Mae and anyone else, you can let me know if that feels better, if that feels like more achievable to get to that point, okay? So the first thing we want to do is make sure we can play all the right notes and rhythms, and we want to set a tempo that's very comfortable. So first step is, if you're playing in the app, maybe use that metronome slider, that slider bar, and you can set a custom tempo. And if 150 is still too challenging for you, Lily Mae, then you can set that down to 130, 100, 80, whatever you want. And you can still practice with interactivity in the app, okay? So let's say now we're doing that. We're down at, let's say, 120 BPM. Okay, we play it evenly at that tempo. I'm just kind of making up the tempo now. And then at this point, now you know it, now you're ready to try expression. There's a couple things we want to do. First step, don't just dive right into playing. We want to do some analysis. I know that can be a scary word sometime, but analysis here means we need to look at our music and we need to identify phrases. Now, in the Playground app, the notation you see is not going to have the slur markings. And that's okay. Remember, I mentioned last week, often the composers don't even write that stuff in. It is more of a learning aid to have that stuff in there. But for now, you won't see slurs in the Playground app, but it's still important for us to identify where we believe the phrases are. We looked at a couple of examples of real-world stuff, including Für Elise last week, and it kind of is obvious to our ears where the phrases want to be, right? There's one phrase. It's not probably going to be, that's not a complete phrase. That's right in the middle of a phrase. And our ears will most often tell us that right answer. But we first need to do that analysis. So in looking at the entertainer, let's dig into this a bit and let's see if we can identify what the first phrase might be for this opening section. It could be that, but I'm going to go ahead and say it wants to be longer. We're not done yet with this first melodic phrase. I think that's probably one complete phrase. Could it be longer? This doesn't feel like part of the first phrase. It's extra melodic content. We've got our first phrase, right? I'm going to call it there. Let's imagine a slur over that, okay? And again, this is a bit subjective. There's some creative decision making here. There's a couple of phrases that could be valid, could be phrases. All right, but for now, we're going to just move forward with this. This is our first phrase, which means the response, the next part in the melodic content, would be our second phrase. So let's treat it like that. We've got two slurs now. We've done some analysis, and we've decided we're going to put a slur over the first melodic phrase and then end it. We're going to put a new slur over the second phrase. Now that we have our phrase markings, let's think back to our month of expression lessons. Now we need to figure out, where does it make the most sense to add some dynamic changes? Maybe we want to have some crescendos and some decrescendos, or some alligators, remember? Where do we want to put those? And also, with respect to rubato, where do we want to push the tempo and where do we want to pull the tempo? Well, now that we've identified our two phrases, we can recall last week talking about, in general, one good approach could be to crescendo into the middle of a phrase and to decrescendo out at the end of the phrase. And we could also do our rubato push and pull accordingly as well. So we could push our tempo into the middle of the phrase, and we can pull our tempo back towards the end of the phrase. Let me show you what I mean. I know this is a lot of talk here. I'm going to play the first phrase, and I'm going to try to push the tempo into the middle and pull it back. I'm going to try to do the same with the dynamics. Let me know if you think this sounds expressive or if you think it sounds wrong or bad, okay? There it was. It's subtle. Really, it's not a long phrase. So in the middle, we push up a bit and we pull back. I'll do it again. Okay, that was a bit more exaggerated. It's hard to hear this as a full musical, complete thought without the second part of this melody, isn't it? In other words, if we have a call and response, we've only just done the call. Adding the response is going to give us the more full contrast we need between sections and phrases. And it's also just going to extend the musical content, which will help too. So let me show you what I mean. Let's now look at the second phrase alone, and then I will add them both together. Here's our second phrase. Similarly, I'll try to push in the middle and pull back towards the end. Okay? Let's now put those together here. Separate, speed up, and pull back. So, whether this sounds good or right or wrong is subjective, of course. And Lily Mae, I don't disagree with you that this song in particular is not the best example for having such a dramatic expression in your performance. But for a practice tool, what I just did there was great practice for pushing and pulling, for getting louder and quieting down, and just for general phrase conception, okay? There's the entertainer example. There's another way that we can look at that, by the way. We can look at the entire thing as one longer phrase. And I'll just go down this path just for a minute here. We could look at this all as one phrase. That's our call. And then our response, or our second phrase, could be this. There's our response. If we were to treat it like that, watch how I would treat the phrasing differently this time. You're going to see it's going to take me longer to push and pull because we have a longer phrase. And let me just see if you guys can notice the difference here. Here's our second phrase. Speeding up and pushing here, slowing down. See that? Again, I'm exaggerating it a bit here, and it is silly with this song. But nonetheless, I'm getting great expression practice here. So Lily Mae, please give that a shot. And anyone else working on the entertainer, give that a shot. I'm going to check back in the chat here and see if I can see another example. Although I see a lot of entertainers, so that's good. That's good. Oh, hey, Chad Miller. It says late but here. Better late than never, Chad. Awesome to see you. Hey, Chad, by the way, let us know, how's the new keyboard treating you? I'm sure you've had some good practice on it now. I know it's been a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. I hope you're enjoying it. All right, Kelly, I still don't know which one was not the slur. Oh, fair enough. So Kelly, how about I pull that example back up? Let's take a look at that answer screen from pop quiz number 1. Let's go ahead and cue that up now. And what I would like to do is to take a quick, closer look myself, and I'm going to identify this tie for you guys. So right now on screen we have 5 measures, 5.5 measures. And I've cut it off on purpose. I just wanted to look at this first line. So we see slurs both in the treble clef and the bass clef, or the right hand and the left hand part. But I want to draw your attention to the 3rd measure on screen. And the second half of that measure, in the left hand, we see 2 quarter notes stacked on top of one another. And underneath those quarter notes, we see 2 numbers, a 1 and a 2. On that chord, that particular chord, we see a tie coming on the bottom to the next measure. How do I know that's a tie? Because it's on a B space, and technically a B flat, given the key signature. The note that it is tied to is in the exact same place. So that cannot be a slur because it's the same note. Now what's confusing about this example is the top note of that 2-note chord, those quarter notes, that's a D. In the next measure, that note is not a D anymore, it's a C. And so in that sense, those 2 notes have changed, but there's something very important here to call out, and that is the direction of the placement of the tie. Do you see how it's coming from the bottom of the note and going down like a smile? That tells you that it's the lower note that is being affected by the tie. If the tie, or slur for that matter, well, really ties, if the tie is on the top and sort of looks more like a sun that's setting maybe, then you know that it's the top note that's affected by the tie or the slur. So again, I knew that one was a bit confusing, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to bring it here into our pop quiz. But yes, that is the challenge there. Ties and slurs look exactly the same, really, except for that with slurs, you can see multiple notes enclosed within one slur. You won't see that with ties. And then again, you could see 2 adjacent notes tied, you could see two notes slurred, just 2 notes. You don't have to have many notes in a slur. It could just be 2 notes, but those notes aren't going to be the same note. They'll be different notes. You might slur up to a note or slur down to a note. But if you see a note and then the exact same note next to it with a line, that's not a slur, that's a tie, okay? All right, but great question. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad, hopefully I was able to clarify there. All right. Dave had it. Dave had the assist as well. Oh, it looks like if I would have read further, maybe Kelly already had that answered. That's okay. All right, so E blues. Charles Goldsmith is working on the E blues. I might have to bust something like that out for you, Charles, in one sec. Anna says wagon train. Awesome. Tina Miller, river flows in you. Awesome. Tina, that is a perfect one for some dramatic expression. I'm not going to pretend like I know it or have it memorized, but I'm going to fake it real quick because for those who don't know, it's a really beautiful melody. That's my own version of it there, but that gives you a sense of the mood of the piece, the vibe of it, and how you can really push and pull the tempo of that and the dynamics, right? I mean, at some point, you could be like really flying through that. but then you could also slow it down quite a bit. Unlike the entertainer, right? So great example there, Tina. And I would love to see how your progress is going with that. I assume you're working on you say with the beginner, so working on the rookie level, and then moving on to the next intermediate level. Yeah, so in the intermediate level, you'll likely see a lot more going on in the left hand, which, like you said, it will help you with that expression. But in the world here of like what I'm trying to do here in this segment of this lesson is to tie what I'm talking about to exactly what you're working on to give you some actionable practice steps. So I'll just briefly say that for the entertainer, it actually might be difficult to resist the urge to do the pushing and pulling before you're ready. Remember, it's important that you actually get it down even timing first. So please get excited about getting expressive with that song. But first, make sure you're patient enough to get it down at a comfortable tempo and have it be even timing first. That's the key, all right? Very exciting. That's a great tune. All right, let's check back in. Sean says, practice expression with Ave Maria and O Holy Night. Yes, great examples. Let's see, I'm going to change keys there. Okay, sorry, I got carried away there. It's such an expressive piece, right? That left hand lends itself beautifully to a rubato feel. And you know why that is? One reason that is because we actually have even rhythms in that left hand. When I was playing the entertainer, we had whole notes in the left hand, which made it hard for me to mark changes in the tempo. But with a song like this, I can literally mark every eighth note. So if I want to speed up, it's more obvious. If I want to slow down, it's more obvious. So remember that as you're developing your own musical style, you guys, and as you're putting music together, if you have some block chords that you're holding for a while and you want to add some rhythm, you can always roll through it like a broken chord like that, and that will really help you mark the changes in the timing, all right? So that was a bit of O Holy Night. Ave Maria is the same idea. Beautiful tune. Okay, John Gibbs says Mad World. It's a great tune. Let's see. It's in F minor, I think. So with this one, the right hand actually has the more driving rhythms, the even rhythms. So watch how I will use the right hand part to mark the changes in the timing on this. Ready? So 1, 2, here we go. Another great one. Man, this is fun. This is almost like a name that tune for me. It's a good challenge too. Charles says, let's see. Let me go back up. Man, the chat's active today. We miss Andrew, don't we? I do. Fly Me to the Moon, beautiful. Corinna, Fly Me to the Moon is great. Worked on adding expression to the rookie version. Another good example where the melody can have even rhythms that drive, that can mark the rubato more evenly, more easily. You see how I milked that? Slow down. Now, since I was just slow, I'm going to speed it up. End of the phrase, it's nice to slow it down, and then we'll speed it back up. So again, that melody is perfect for that because it's even rhythm. So if I start to speed up, you can hear it. If I start to slow down, you can hear it, okay? Great example. I want to start seeing some videos from you guys on these songs that you're working on. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, let's see here. Uncle Rabbit, entertainer mostly. That's where I've been aiming my effort. Smart, smart, smart. The Dot, okay. Say Something, beautiful tune. So Byron Burt says, say something, dynamics towards the end, intensity, and then finishing softly. That's exactly right. Great call. And if you listen to the recording of that song, like the main one, right? Who did it? It was called Great Big World with Christina Aguilera. The dynamics that they use, the contrast in that song is really beautiful. You don't often see that kind of contrast in pop music, I would say. So a lovely tune. Very pretty song, very emotional song. There's a lot of emotion to be expressed in that song. If you listen to the lyrics, if you watch the video, right? It's an emotional tune. So of course, there's going to be a lot of expression in this. Great call. I'm glad you're working on that one. What else we got? Dave Kolas says, scales or other very familiar things. Great. Scales are actually perfect to practice with this stuff. They're not very musical on their own. Like, I doubt you're like excited to hear the music that's coming out of the piano when it's a scale. But again, it doesn't matter what it sounds like when we're working. Let me step back. It does kind of matter what it sounds like. But my point from earlier with Lily Mae asking about the entertainer, you're not going to go perform this for people who want to hear it a certain way. This is for you in your practice room, in your shed. And this is for you to practice the physical nature of this, getting used to this stuff. And scales can be great for that too. In fact, in some ways, it can be the best for practicing rubato at least, because they're the same rhythm and they're quarter notes or eighth notes, whatever. They're even rhythms so that, again, you can mark your rubato much more easily. All right, how else we doing? Kevin O'Malley says, hey Phil, sorry I'm late for the lesson. Really enjoyed the 30-day challenge. No problem, Kevin. So first of all, I think many of you may know this, but if you don't, all of the live lessons that we do are stored on the YouTube channel for later viewing, if you'd like, or if you missed one. So I encourage every one of you who is here today who can't make the Wednesday lessons, I hope you know that you can watch those after the fact. Of course, you won't have the interactivity live with me, but all this stuff is saved for sure. So Kevin, I hope you'll check it out. Glad you could make it either way. Sahil says, hi there, how are you? I'm doing great, how are you? Nice to see some new names in the chat. All right, Lily Mae says, you think it sounds good. Cool, I'm glad to hear that. So try that, Lily Mae, with the entertainer. You don't have to post a video of it. It's just more about the shed, the practice. All right, let's see. Sean, pushing and pulling on the tempo sounds really good. And the prelude in C, that's true. Oh, do I know that one? Let's see. No, I'm not gonna put Bach through that. But I'm familiar with it. And in fact, our CEO, Chris Vance, we're still waiting on him to post his performance video of Prelude in C. He's been working on that one, and it's a beautiful tune. All right. Hello from Latvia. I'm still in my rookie course, so this is too advanced. Still interesting. Okay, fair enough. Expression is not a day one concept. But it's also not something to be afraid of or intimidated by, as if you won't get it until you're advanced. I just want to say that. This is something that we can all comprehend fairly easily, I would say. And it's also something that physically we can achieve with some work, but it's not out of reach, even for beginners, okay? In fact, I think it's better for beginners to be thinking about this stuff early on, instead of not thinking about it, playing for years that way, and then trying to learn how to be expressive down the road. I think it's important we talk about this stuff, at least plant the seed early on, all right? So don't fear this stuff. Try to jump in and embrace it. Jim Mundy says, seriously, this is you not knowing something? Yeah, Jim, yes, it was. If you really studied the score of what I was trying to do, you'll see I'm way off. But what I am proud of that I can do is kind of hear a melody and hear a chord progression and fill in the blanks on my own. That's a whole nother set of skills that we can talk about one day. That's ear training, playing by ear. It's a hard thing to teach, but it's definitely a skill that brings me a lot of joy. And if I've heard a song enough to at least recall a melody, typically I can fake it like that. But you're very kind to say that that was surprising. It's a fun challenge for me. All right, Chad Miller says, how about Chopin's Piano Sonata No. 2 in B flat minor, Opus 35, The Death March? Chad, that is an epic title and an epic request. I'm going to put some time, I'm going to put it on my list for this coming week, Chad. I'm going to bust that one out and actually learn a piece of it for you. And then maybe I'll post a video on Facebook this week, me walking through a little bit of that. Because I think that one's not worth me faking it here and trying to put together. But it's a great call, so I'm going to follow up with you on that, Chad. Mark says, good evening from the UK. Hey, Mark, thanks for hanging out. All right, my parrot loves Fly Me to the Moon. Tina, that's awesome. You got to teach your parrot to sing the lyrics while you play. Fly me to the... No, I'm not going to do a parrot impression. All right. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Can you play... E blues. Okay, Charles, thank you for reminding me. So E blues. Now, without there being a specific melody or a specific arrangement in mind here, I'll just kind of do something a bit generic, and I'll kind of do like a... just the basic blues form there, a little bit of a shuffle feel. There's some E blues. Let's talk about how we might be more expressive in the blues. This is an interesting one actually, because similarly to the entertainer, this style of music typically is done best when there's a groove in place. You could, of course, do a blues that's out of time and dramatic, but typically, the blues, we want to be grooving. But rubato is not the only way to be expressive. In other words, even if we keep a nice groove going, there's other things we can do, like dynamics, including things like range, which can also have a dynamic impact. In other words, if I play something really low, it's going to feel heavy and loud. If I play something high up, it might feel more airy and light. So let me play through a bit more of that E blues there, and I'll even simplify it a bit. But what I'll do is I'll keep the groove going, and I'll try to show some dynamic contrast. And let's see if that at least adds a little bit of more expression to it, okay? It could go any way you want. You could go super quiet and then super loud. And that's a different story than the one I told before, right? I was expressing something different there. My timing throughout, I tried to keep pretty groovy and even. But if you notice, there was a lot of contrast there because of what I did with my dynamics and with my range, right? Something to explore. And we could get into a lot more detail on a specific arrangement, but for now, just in general, I hope I hope that that was helpful to at least show what's possible. Even when the time doesn't want to change, you can still express and show some contrast and variety. Great stuff, you guys. I really, really love talking with you guys. And today, this has been fun. I feel like we're getting more interaction than usual. I'll tell you what, we have a lot more planned for today, and we're going to have some fun. What I want to do is just play through. I'm going to play through For Elise a little bit. I just want to perform something for you guys. I think this will be fun. And I kind of worked on it throughout the month a bit in some of my demos. I showed bits of For Elise, and I thought, you know what? It'd be fun to just give myself a challenge and try to perform. So let's try this. Here's For Elise, and I'm going to try to be expressive. I'm going to try. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful piece. That was fun. Thanks for hanging with me there, guys, and listening to that performance. A couple of things I want you to take away from that. I think that I tried to play, at least, all of the different dynamics at a certain point throughout. I also tried to do a lot of pushing and pulling of the tempo, a lot of rubato. Mostly towards the ends of phrases, I was pulling back. Doesn't it help you, as you're listening, know where the phrases end and begin when the performer is using expression like that? All right, that was fun. So let's keep things moving, guys. What I'd like to do now is hit you with a boom pop quiz. Pop quiz number 2. Pop quiz number 2, you guys. So what we need here for your answer is a 2 dash and then your answer. 2 dash and then your answer. So this question is going to have to do with dynamics. I'm going to show you another excerpt. We're looking at 4 measures from a piece of music. You're going to see some slurs, you're going to see some dynamic stuff, you're going to see some other rhythms. What I'm looking for here are how many dynamic changes do we see in this music? How many times are we supposed to change the dynamics here according to the notation? So looking for the first correct answer, I need a 2 dash and then your answer. And I will just play a little bit and let you guys start writing in those answers. All right, let's check back in. And let's see what kind of answers we're getting in the chat. I'm seeing 6, 5, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 5, 6, 6, 4, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6. A lot of 5s and 6s, couple 4s. All right, the correct answer is 5 dynamic changes. Notice there are no dynamic markings in terms of whether to play piano or forte or mezzo forte or mezzo piano, but instead what we see are crescendos and decrescendos. Now, a crescendo, the first symbol we see is a decrescendo, and literally that looks like what you would imagine the sound to look like. It starts big and over time it gets smaller and smaller. The next symbol is the reverse of that. It starts small and it gets bigger over time. That's a crescendo. And then we see another decrescendo, and then another decrescendo. So basically what we're doing in these 4 measures, what we're seeing in these 4 measures are essentially directions to gradually get quiet. But from the first to the second measure, we actually get a little louder first, and then we're just going to get quieter and quieter and quieter as we go. So let me go back to the chat, and let's see who got 2-5 first. Looks like Corinna. Hey, Corinna, I'm glad to see that you, for your first live lesson, you've won a free song credit. Great job. So just in case you missed it earlier, I'm going to have Aiden post the link again for how to redeem your song credit. You'll basically email support, and you'll say, hey, I won, and they'll give you the song credit. But we'll spell it out for you. Congratulations. And for everyone else that got 5, congrats again. And I see a good comment here. Sean says, so staccato doesn't count. That's a great point. So there's some other stuff we see in that example as well. Actually, maybe Aiden, can we go back to that shot? What I want to do is point out that we see some other things in here, including articulations. Now, articulation is something that we haven't talked too much about, but we did talk a little bit about legato and staccato. Legato is when the notes are smooth and connected, often represented by slurs or phrase marks. And staccato marking is where you see a dot either above or below. So in the third measure, we see a group of 4/16 notes, and on the bottom of of the beams, we see dots on them. And that would be, so not this. We want, staccato is short and quick and disconnected like that. So let me speak to staccato as it relates to dynamic changes. There are actually two separate worlds here. Articulation, of course, does change how the piece sounds as well, but we wouldn't categorize that as dynamics. So good question, but here we were only looking for the crescendos and decrescendos. Great stuff, you guys. All right, so that was pop quiz number 2. And hey, I'm having fun, you guys. It's Sunday. I think we should keep the fun going here, and I want to do a live improv. It's been a long time since we've done this, and so let me just give you a little refresher of how this works. I'm going to ask you guys to say any word, any term. It could be a musical term or not. It could be, you know, happy, or it could be scary, or something even more creative. What I would love to do is to get your input. Give me some words that I could use to influence my upcoming improvisation. I'm going to make something up from scratch, and I'm going to try to talk my way through the decisions that I'm making. So you could say stuff like 4/4, or key of G, or key of E minor, or you could say something, you know, rhythmic, or something expressive, right? So let's start to get some comments coming through. Oh, Chad Miller's got a good one. Sunday fun day. we can explore that. So go ahead and put your comments in, guys. And what I'm going to do is just kind of read them as they come. I'm going to try to pick three or four different things and craft a story. And this is going to be fun. All right. So Chad Miller says Sunday fun day. Anna says calm. Okay. These are good. Kelly says mysterious. I love it. Dave says insect. Period. Just insect. Hey. We can roll with that. I like a challenge. Smooth, baby. Jim says evil. Okay. Tina, boogie woogie man. Lily Mae, key of B flat. Spring. All right, I'm seeing some good stuff. Keep them coming. So, you know, today I'm feeling like spring is a good one. It's definitely in the air here in Akron, Ohio today. It's like 50-something degrees and it's sunny. So we can do something with spring, and I think insect is appropriate for spring too. We're going to start seeing those guys out more. We can mess with that. Leute89 says grillin' and chillin'. I love it. We're on the same page. Chad Cat on my keyboards. All right. All right, we're getting somewhere. All right, here's my story, you guys. All right. It's Sunday, and we're having fun. And it's calm. Anna says calm, right? So what does calm mean as we get down to the piano? Well, it means quiet dynamics to me. Maybe piano or pianissimo. Could even be mezzo piano, maybe. I think calm also means something that is relatively simple and repetitive. We don't want to change and have a big chord progression here. We just want something that's calm and almost meditative. And it's spring, so that to me means we've got the sun out and things are feeling bright. So I'm going to get high up on the piano up here. I'm going to say, I'm going to get some little rays of sunshine in here. Now, I'm going to change keys because I just saw Lily Mae say key of B flat. All right, now we've got our windows open so that the breeze can come through. There's our breeze. Notice I'm getting rid of our even timing now. The breeze pushes and pulls quite a bit, right? So here's another gust of wind. Our wind gusts, but you know what? An insect has come in, and he's It's kind of spoiling our day. I'm keeping my B flat major in the left hand. That's our Sunday day. But the clash is happening because my right hand's playing in a different key now. And that tells you that it's clashing. It's not invited, it's not welcome. And it's actually going to turn our major day into something that's more minor. But guess what? Our cat is here, and our cat sees the insect, so the cat's going to jump up on the keys. Story. Something about Minneapolis, chimes, goosebumps. All right, so we got to wrap up our story. The cat has kicked the insect out, and now it's time to grill. What does that mean? We're gonna pick up the energy a bit. We're gonna get happier, so we're gonna pick up the speed. Let's go ahead and change keys too. I might kind of get a little rock going here because sometimes grilling makes me think of like classic rock, right? We're in the sun, we're just happy, we're jamming. But let's bring back our theme from earlier. We had a Sunday theme going, right? Let's see if we can bring that back in. There it is. But we're grilling now. Now we've eaten too much and things are slowing down a little bit. Still happy though, so I'm still major here. Grilling and chilling, I might fall asleep, so I'm going to bring it down an octave. And then you realize tomorrow's Monday, and you got to go to work. But work's how you pay the bills. All right, we'll leave it there, you guys. So this is super fun. It's a challenge for me to improvise with suggestions and to tell a story. But I always try to tie it back to musical ideas and why I'm making the musical choices that I am to express the various elements of the story. Super fun for me. I hope that's fun for you guys too. All right, you guys, we're having fun today, and we have more in store. Usually I wrap up around the hour mark, but it's Sunday afternoon, and I'm really excited about where we're going next month. So today, the next big thing that I want to do is talk through some composition, okay? But first, what I want to do actually is we're going to skip what we had there, Aiden, and we're just going to go right to our bumper. So I'm going to play something for you guys. It's a pre-recorded video. It's basically, it's going to be Mike Garson, David Bowie's keyboardist. We shot some stuff with him playing on our Playground Sessions keyboard. And so I'm going to play that for you, but the reason we're going to play it is because we need a minute to make a switch on our end so that I can actually show you my songwriting tool. I'm going to have it live on screen, and we're going to I'm going to show you what it's going to be like to write a song together. It's going to be super fun, but I just need a minute to switch some cables. So I'm going to send you to this video. Please don't go anywhere. And in fact, if you have any ideas for some preliminary stuff you might want to put in our song, you could tell me a key signature, a time signature, whatever. On the other end, I'll explain it more, but stick around for the next 2 minutes or so. Check out Mike Garson jamming on our keyboard, and then on the other end, you'll see me again. We'll start writing a song together. Super cool. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dad. It's great, man. It's fantastic.
I believe everyone should play an instrument, and I believe the Playground Session keyboard is wonderful. It plays very fast, which I love, and it has some great sounds besides the piano. I love the harpsichord sound. The string sounds is beautiful. It's a wonderful keyboard. It allows somebody to be learning who might not have had the chance to afford a $20,000 piano. For such a small amount of money, you could be learning to play immediately. It does the job, you know, it connects right into the computer. Or your iPad, it's like a no-brainer.
Okay, what you should be seeing now are some blank measures. Does that scare anybody? I know that I have many friends who compose and write music. The hardest part for them, they say, is when they're looking at the blank page. Where do we start? Well, that's what we're going to be working on together all month in the month of March. We can do whatever we want, you guys, but I'm going to walk you through it. I'll be guiding us, and basically we'll build on each lesson. So our first lesson in March, we'll get started, and then in the next lesson that we do, we'll take what we did the week before, we'll build on it. It's going to be really fun, and so today what we want to do is basically test that out a little bit. And so you can see my mouse, you can see me clicking on these measures, right? What we're going to do is fill in the blanks. So I need some help. What are we going to do? I'm going to go back to the chat, and I see, it looks like Anna is saying any minor key. Okay, so let's get started first by picking a key signature. Any minor key. We want a minor key here. Anyone have a suggestion for which minor key we should play in? I'll let the chat speak, and I hope you guys will keep typing here, because I'm not going to make any decisions here. You guys have to steer us. D, I just saw D. SD Rockman says D, so D minor. Now, the key of D minor has one flat in its key signature. So the first thing we're going to do is establish our key signature. And to do that, I will go down here and click D minor. Boom. We're going to put it there. And now, if you notice, there's a flat right here and a flat right here. Now we're in the key of D minor, all right? Yo, the theorist is in the house. What up, man? Theorist, you saying C minor? We just picked D minor, but I'll tell you what. Throw me another suggestion, and we'll use your thoughts too. This is going to be fun. So guys, we're now writing a song with the theorist. That's pretty crazy. Check out his YouTube channel, by the way, if you haven't. He just celebrated 1 million subscribers. Pretty sweet. All right, so the theorist is in the house. We're in D minor. And now, I think what we need to do is pick a starting chord. There's a lot of different ways we can start a song. Here's one of them. Let's pick a chord. It doesn't have to be D minor, but typically when we are in the key of blank, we are going to use the chord, that blank chord, pretty often, our one chord. So in the key of D minor, often we can start with D minor, do some other chords, and often we can also end with D minor. So I'm seeing some chords come through. I see A minor, I see B flat minor, okay, A minor. So I'm seeing a couple A minors. So let's do a D minor and an A minor, okay? Let's go ahead and start with that. So let's get a D. There's D minor right there. That's a quarter note. For now, let's make it a whole note. We can always change that later. So we said D minor, and then in the next measure, I think we probably want an A minor. Boom, look at this. We're writing music, you guys. Let's play what we have so far. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very cool so far. Now, one thing that is important to keep in mind when writing music, this is also true for improvising, by the way, is you don't want to just continue to add random stuff. You always want to try and find patterns and things to repeat either verbatim or to repeat in sort of a tweaked way. So let's go ahead and try that right now. Instead of coming up with 2 different new chords, why don't we try to make a pattern out of this? So here's D minor, here's A minor. Maybe we do that again. Okay, how about this? I'm seeing the chat getting a little cold. You guys tell me, do we want to repeat D minor to A minor, or do we want to do something different? I'll wait and see what you guys think. I have my vote, but let's see what you guys think. We're writing this song together. And in the meantime, I'm just going to mess around with a little bit of melodic content in the key of D minor, just to show you that we can use any note from the D minor scale but we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, I'm seeing some people saying something different. Someone says repeat sets us up for blocking out the song. You're absolutely right, Jim. When we do repeat like that, it sets up a progression that wants to be repeated longer. And again, that's because we're seeing a pattern when we repeat it. I'll tell you what, you guys, I'm seeing some different and some repeat. Why don't we repeat for now? Because this is all just going to be the first section of our song. When we get to a second section, then we can get into some new material a bit more. So why don't we go ahead for now and repeat that and see where we're at. So I'll highlight these two measures, and I'll just repeat them. Now we're talking. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that could be the verse on its own. It could just be a 2-chord progression. I'm making something up here for now, but notice in the left hand, that's all we need. But we could change it from here. I think once we've repeated the D minor to the A minor, now we want to switch it to a new chord. So I'm going to check the chat. I see maybe Lieutenant 89 is saying G minor. Boom, G minor is a great next chord. That's the minor 4 chord in D minor. And why don't we just stay on that G minor for a bit? So let's put G minor in here. And remember that B is already flat right here because of the key signature. And why don't we mix up our rhythms here? Let's try to make them half notes. And I'm going to do 2 measures of G minor. And then maybe you guys can help me figure out if we want to end this with an A chord or back to D minor, okay? So I'll play what we have so far. D minor, 2, 3, 4. A minor, 2, 3, 4. Again, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going down to G minor, adding more rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now listen up, here's A. Do we want to end with A? Or do we want to get back to D minor after these G minors? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Do we want to go back to D minor here? I'm seeing an A. Anyone else? Let me know in the chat what you prefer. Do you like to go from G minor to A? Or do we like to go from G minor back to D minor? Both of them work, but what do we prefer? I'm seeing a couple of A's, one more A, and that'll be the call. Boom, the theorist. Oh, Jim wants us to go back to D minor. I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We'll go to A, and then we can go to D minor in the next measure. Let's see if we like that. A, whoops. And by the way, that was an A major, so we need to add a sharp to that C. Boom. And we're going to make it a whole note. And then let's see if going back to D minor, like Jim and John Gibbs and Lieutenant 89 want us to do. Let's see if that works after the A. And I'm going to drop that back down. Whoops. We're going to drop this down an octave. Okay. Oh, wait. Anna just said first inversion. All right. I'm down. There's first inversion D minor. I like that. So let me play what we have here, and let's see if we can agree if we like to go from the A down to D in first inversion. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Here comes D minor. I really like that. I don't know about you guys, but my vote is to keep it like this, and maybe we can even start with a little bit of melodic stuff. Let me know. Do you guys like what we have here, or do we need a different chord at the end? Lieutenant 89 says, fantastic. You digging it so far? All right, so how do we know what to do in the right hand? Yeah, Thea says keep it. Lily Mae sounds good. Okay, we're happy with what we got so far. What I want to do is think about melodic content. There's a lot of notes up here we could choose from, so let's narrow it down. We can choose from our D minor scale, and just for a review, any of these notes. And let's keep it simple for now. What I want to do is let's just play a bunch of Ds in a row and make sure that the Ds sound good with all the chords we have in our progression. And I just saw Tina Miller is saying upper register, so why don't we bring the melody up here a little higher? And we can even bring the chords up too, but for now, let's keep it as we have it. I'm going to play some Ds in the right hand, and check this out. Now G minor. I liked that. I think when we go to the A major chord right here, notice the C sharp and the E are kind of enclosing this D. And so when we have a D up here, it clashes a little bit with it, just a little bit. But it doesn't mean it's wrong, we just need to be aware of that. I really liked that, and in fact, I kind of liked how those Ds sounded. Not necessarily as a melody, but can you imagine this being like a pop song maybe and someone singing on top of this? Check it out. Maybe when we get to this chord, we can change our Ds. Let's vote. Do you guys want me to go down to C sharp? Or do you want me to go up to E? Let me know below and we'll write it in. So for now, I'm going to put those D octaves in there. And I was playing them as quarter notes. It gave us some extra rhythms there. When we get to here, I'm seeing theorists saying E. S.D. Rockman says this is a double D piece, indeed. The theorist changed to E, C sharp, E. All right, I'm seeing some E's. You know what I like about E? It's ascending. It's bringing us up higher, which feels like a little bit more uplifting. Look at this, you guys. We already have a song, at least a start to it. So we're going up to E there. Maybe we break up our quarter note rhythms there, and maybe we just go to, let's make it a whole note for now. And then we've got one more measure here to figure out our melody. So for now we've got this. Notice I'm accenting the third one in each measure too. Yeah, the E is awesome. And then we're going to here. We could stay on E, we could move anywhere else. Tell you what, let's get a vote in. Here's going up to F. That's pretty nice. Here's going down to D. All right, what do we think? Votes for F or D in the melody for the final measure? Tina says flow back down. I like that description of, that gestural description of kind of flowing down. I'm seeing a lot of Fs coming through. With the F, we're continuing to go higher, which is a nice effect. I'm seeing, it looks like Fs are winning for now, so I'll tell you what, we're going with Fs. And because, oh, here's an interesting point. I actually like what what Lily May is saying. I don't think there should be anything there. That's a great point because that is not the absence of a decision. That is a decision in and of itself, to put a rest. Rests are super important, you guys. So that's a great point, and Lily, because you brought that up, I think we should have a rest here, but maybe not for the whole measure. Maybe we just have a rest at the beginning, and then what we need then is to have some kind of a pickup notes at the end of this eighth measure that's going to get us into the next thing, the next section, which we won't be doing today, but you better believe we're going to be doing in March. So rest is a great idea. And then what I want to do is for the second half of the measure, we are going to do something with eighth notes. So you can see here I've got spaces for 4 eighth notes, but I don't know what they're going to be yet. Let's figure out what they're going to be. So what I'll do is I'll play the second line now, starting with the G minors in the left hand. Bum, 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 bum. What do we think of that? That's going to be my 4 eighth notes. So here's what I think we should do to ground this a little bit, is to make the decision now that after this eighth measure, we're going to repeat all this again. Then we would go on to the following section. So what that's going to do is help make this section feel like a larger and more intentional section if we go and do it again, okay? And I'll show you that what we can do with these last 4 eighth notes is we can have them be one way for the first repeat, and then maybe as we get down to the second time, we can change them if we want. But for now, let me just fill in some blanks here for these eighth notes, and then we can decide if we like them or not. So we've just done this, and then we play here, and we're going to play 4 eighth notes that are going to let us repeat back to the beginning, back to these Ds. So what I'd like to do is actually change our octave patterns. Let's not do octaves for these eighth notes. Let's do something like decorative, something like, you know, and what I did there was I just picked a note we haven't used yet, A, in the right hand, and then I also wanted to use this B flat because that is a very identifying note in this. It's the only flat in this key signature. We haven't used it yet other than with the G minor down here, but we haven't used it in the right hand. So I think we should kind of do something around here. We like that? So here's option 1. And I'm playing the octave Ds like I'm repeating back to the beginning. So we could do A, B flat, A, G, and then go to Ds. That's option 1. Or we could do a thing that, like, was it Tina? Let me look back up in the chat. Yeah, Tina said flow back down, and what I like about that is it's very gestural, and a flow back down kind of makes me think of something like this. That's another nice little passage we can play. So here's option 1, and then, well, that was option 2. So here's option 1. We're going to go. And then we're back to the beginning. So option 2 would be this. All right, so let's hear what we think. Option 1 is rest, and then we're back to the beginning. Option 2 is rest. They're both very valid. They both work. Let's decide as a group what we like best. I'm seeing 1 and 2. Here's an interesting point. Lieutenant 89 saying option 2 is easier, but option 1 is easier on the ears. That's a good point. So you have to balance these kind of decisions when you're writing a song. What is the best thing for ears? What sounds the best? But then also, how difficult is it to perform? That's a great point. You got to make some compromises. So I'm seeing 2, 2, 2. I'm seeing more 2s. Here's another thing that here's another reason why we maybe like option 2 is we've been doing this ascending thing, right? We've been going up. We went up to the E. Well, now, as Tina said, we're going to flow back down. There's some contrast, right? That's tension and release, call and response, whatever you want to call it. We're going up, and then we contrast it by going down. And that can feel very natural and nice on the ears. All right, we're going to do with option 2. So we need eighth notes. We're going to start on an A and go down. And then we're going to put a repeat sign here. Let me just move over to my tools. Now, for those who don't know, that symbol there, it's a double bar line with dots around the middle line on each of the staves. What that does is it tells you to go back and play it all again, but just once. You don't have to repeat it forever, just one time. All right, guys, we've got 8 measures of music here. What do you think? I'm going to play it. Let's see if we like it. Let's see how it sounds. I added that part. My ear is already wanting to go to this next section. This is super fun. So what I want to know from you guys, we're going to wrap the composition piece up here now, but what I want to know is, does this format work? Do we like voting in the chat on the decisions? Is there anything else you guys can think of that might make this more fun or more using the interactivity of this platform more? I would love to hear from you guys on this. This was a bit of a test for us too. And what we've learned is that we can get the notation going, right? And we can make it happen, and it's all live and real time. So that's super good to know. What I want to know from you guys is any ideas on ways we can improve this format. And guys, we'll be doing it in the month of March all the way through, so there'll be more opportunities for us to increase. But we just lost our overhead camera, so I think that's the perfect time for us to go ahead and get into our final pop quiz. Boom! Pop quiz numero tres. All right, number 3. We're going to reach back to earlier in our month of expression lessons by having a quick question on dynamics. All right, I know you guys know the answer to this, so I'm looking for the first correct answer. I hope it's quick. It's a twofold answer. So you're going to write 3 dash, because this is question 3, and then you're going to write, what is this symbol called? And then you're going to write, what does it mean? And spelling will not count against you, okay? So here's your question. What is this symbol called? The one that's highlighted blue. And what does it mean? All right, so that was my suspense music for you guys. I'm looking for the first correct answer. Theorist, if you win, you're getting a free song credit. Hey, I'm glad you're hanging with us today, by the way, Theorist. Great to see you, man. All right, so I'm looking for 3 dash, what's it called and what does it mean? And I'm looking for the first correct answer, and my man Uncle Rabbit has gotten it. Mezzo piano, which means medium soft. I would have also accepted medium quiet. Moderately quiet. And so I expect a lot of people to get this one. I see Jim Mundy's got it. I see Kelly's got it. Gail's got it. I see, oh, Gail, actually, check you got the mezzo right, but the forte is for the loud. That's what forte means. Lily Mae's got it. Tina's got it. Great job, everyone. Dave's got it. Gail, mezzo. John Gibbs, mezzo piano. Oh, autocorrect got you, Gail. They robbed you. Lieutenant says, don't need free songs, so love you all. Hey, that's fair. You know, Sarah Pickles has won some credits, and I don't even think she's got the interactive app, so she's gifted hers to someone else in the chat. You're always welcome to do that as well. Well, guys, that was pop quiz number 3. Next month, we're going to be getting into a whole new territory here that we've previewed today. We're going to be writing a song together, and I think it's going to be super fun. I think when we're done, we should actually put it in our interactive song store for everyone to download for free, too. It's going to be a blast, but we're going to have a whole new set of pop quiz questions, of course. And what we've done in the past, we'll still carry forward with us. We'll still talk about expression as we go, things like that. But we're going to dive deeper into composition and talk about theory as we go with that. And that's specifically important to me because many of you have voted on wanting to learn more theory. We did a Theory 101 month, but there's more to go in theory world. And so one thing that's going to be great about composition is you kind of have to know some of the theory stuff to do it. And that is going to be a great excuse for me to talk about theory, even though it's not a theory month. It would be a composition month, okay? So have no fear. We'll be discussing theory. And guys, that's it. Let's wrap this thing up. Today was super fun. I'm glad you hung with me for longer than usual. We had a little bit of extra fun today hanging out. We had more of a chat going. We did some improv together. If you guys are digging this, please, I want to encourage you one more time to share this out with anyone that you think would love to join these hangs. I don't need you to blast everyone with it and get spammy, but think about it. If there are some people who want to learn piano in your life, I think they would really find a lot of value in this kind of thing, and so we would really appreciate if you could spread the word a bit to those you think would be interested. In the meantime, say hey one more time to the Theorist, who was nice enough to hang out with us today. We're going to be doing a lot more with him in 2020. So if you haven't checked him out yet, do yourself a favor. He's got some amazing covers on his channel. It's perfect for, putting on in the back while you're doing whatever. It's also great to dig in deep with all your attention because he's got great videos. He's a great performer and a great arranger. You can actually find a lot of his advanced arrangements in our app, and we'll be adding more in 2020. Anyways, Theo, it's great to see you. And everyone else, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you not this coming Wednesday. We're off then because we're here today on Sunday, but we'll see you in March, the first Wednesday in March. I'll see you guys then. And this is called an augmented triad. So we got major. For dominant 7 chords, we have a major triad with a flat 7. It's very similar to what Harry showed, but it has a bit more of a bluesy feel. So